Kill the music. Brothers and sisters, I was in the middle of working on the editing on 7 a.m. here. We're shooting to have something to show you all by the end of the month, just in case anybody out there was wondering, by the way. We're shooting to have something to show you here by the end of the month. Kind of amazing how a guy who started on his documentary after the fraud did is going to get done before the fraud. Kind of makes you think there's not a documentary coming, by the way. Just wanted to throw that out there for you. I was in the middle of doing my editing on 7 a.m. tonight here, and while I was doing that there, somebody decided to bring themselves into my group page. Now, my group page on Facebook, the official Jason Black group page, you have to request to join that. I don't just go around adding people. Like everything else I've ever done, I don't go out recruiting people. I don't go out drafting people. You don't just wake up one day and, oh, I'm a member of one of Jason Black's groups. It don't work that way. As a matter of fact, there's a bunch of jackasses out there who are upset because they wanted to get in, and my mods and my admin said, who are you? Tell us about yourself. How did you hear about us? Tell us what you like about the Black channel and what Jason Black says. Tell us what you like about it. A lot of folks didn't like that when we confronted them because, yeah, we understand. People like the fraud think they can just walk right in and send trolls. We don't make it easy for you. So you have to ask to join this group. And some people decided tonight that they were going to try to tell me what I can talk about in my own group. By the way, they thought they were going to come into my group page and tell me what I was talking too much about, or I should be talking about something else. So let me get this right now. You came to my group page because nobody knows who you are and nobody goes to your page at all. And you're going to come here and try to dictate to me what I can talk about on my own page. You got your own page, but you're going to come to my group page and try to dictate to me. Now, one guy in particular named Brian, he thought that he was going to be a little bit smarter than the average cockroach. And he decided, well, we should be talking about Ferguson. Why are we talking about Ferguson? Ferguson! A city councilman in Ferguson has come up missing. So, this jackwagon tells himself that all he's got to do is say that there's an alderman who's been missing in Ferguson for 1 hour. Now, by the way, police don't even put out a missing persons report until 48 hours. But he wants us to get excited because an alderman has been missing for 1 hour. Taking a look at the condition of Ferguson, though, it looks like your alderman has been missing for about 60 years, dumbass. You see, this is that fake Negro outrage that Tariq is so infamous for reminding people about. That we talk about things and then Negroes, to try to change the subject, they want to act like they're outraged about something else. Who was talking about Ferguson before last Friday? Somebody tell me, was Bumbleface Brian talking about Ferguson before last Friday? No. Was he putting up videos before last Friday? No. Was he talking to people about it before last Friday? No. Now, the place has been a slum and in squalor for decades now. Buttbrain Brian has not had a word to say in years. Never cared about Ferguson before last Friday. Now we're supposed to believe, because he doesn't like me doing Black Nuremberg, to try to desperately change the subject, because some people are just so used to being physically abused that they actually identify with their abuser Instead of telling their abuser to stop, they start identifying with him. Stockholm Syndrome. And some people, like Butt Brain Brian, have Stockholm Syndrome, but when you start having it for a fraud, you ought to start seeking therapy at that point. You see, folks, the time to be concerned about Ferguson wasn't 5 days ago. It wasn't 2 days ago. The time to be concerned about Ferguson was 2 decades and 4 decades ago. That was the time to be concerned about Ferguson and talking about Ferguson and speaking about what's going on in Ferguson. But you didn't give a damn about Ferguson. But do you want to know the worst part about Ferguson, people? Ferguson didn't give a damn about Ferguson. That's the shameful part of it. Because you see, I shouldn't have a place that's got 21,000 people in it. And all of your socioeconomic development and all of your assets are owned by people outside your community. But you want me to believe that we need to get ventilated about Ferguson. That's what you want me to believe. You want me to believe that there's something so incredible going on in Ferguson. And you didn't give a damn about it before tonight, but you want us to start talking about it tonight because you don't want us beating up on your fraudulent daddy. That's an illness in black society. That's a sickness. Now, what I told Butt Brain Brian, and I'm not being mean by what I'm saying here. I mean, if you take a look at his last name, by the way, what I told Butt Brain was, you know, I don't see you getting on any planes to go to Ferguson. So you're talking about Ferguson like you really care about it, and yet you live in Oakland, California, you deadbeat, bummy, butt brain idiot. Why aren't you on a plane? You've known about Ferguson's situation now for at least 5 days since you started giving a damn about it. If you care about Ferguson so much, why are you not on a plane to Ferguson? And he's not on a plane to Ferguson because he don't give a damn about Ferguson. Let me tell you something, people. If you meet an ignorant Negro on the internet talking about they're concerned about the situation in Ferguson, and then you ask them what economic development are you bringing to Ferguson, and they can't tell you, that clown is a liar. They are a liar. They're lying if they say they are concerned about Ferguson, and then you ask them, okay, what businesses are you going to bring to Ferguson? I ain't bringing no businesses. We're going to go down there and, well, I'm not actually going to go down there, but I want us to get on the internet and talk about Ferguson. Can we talk about Ferguson? Let's talk about Ferguson. Talking. That's the national pastime of deadbeat, do-nothing, coon-faced Negroes all over the world. Sitting and talking. He's not going to say one word about what he's going to do in Ferguson because he doesn't plan on doing anything. This is not about what he plans to do in Ferguson. He's not going to do nothing. They think that black males are so weak, impotent, and pathetic today that they think that talking on the internet is actually an action. They think that talking on the internet is actually organizing. Just expressing your concerns is actually a substitute for doing something. If you aren't bringing capital and financial resources to build a black economy in Ferguson, then you are talking out of your ass. And cowardly liars like Brian Buttface and Matthew Sambo, they sit up here and they run their mouths to change the subject because they want to be entertained. Even if it's by a fraud, they want to be entertained. But when you start talking about, okay, Negro, what are you gonna do all of a sudden they get real quiet real quick. And when I asked him what was he gonna do, he got real quiet. The people of Ferguson should be talking about what they are going to do to build an independent economy for themselves and their people. That is the only conversation that should be occurring in Ferguson tonight. And you know what is the only conversation that is not occurring in Ferguson tonight? Yeah, clowns like Brian the Buttface have no problem talking about things they will never do. Jigaboons love to get on the internet and try to intercept every sensible conversation and change the subject on everything, because what I talk about hits a little too close to home. So maybe I can save my fraudulent daddy if I change the conversation to something else. No. If you're not talking about what you're financially going to do for Ferguson, you're a liar. And I called you out on it, and I'm calling everybody out on that. You are not talking about a solution in Ferguson if you are not discussing what you are going to do in Ferguson. And you know what, Brian Buttface, Matthew, moron, Sonia jumped in there, and all the others, do you know what they're gonna do for Ferguson? Not a damn thing. They're gonna do for Ferguson exactly what they were doing 1 week ago for Ferguson. Nothing. They're not gonna lift a finger. Hell, they're not even gonna go there. And even if they do go down there, what you gonna do? Huh? What are you gonna do for Ferguson? You didn't bring no money. You didn't bring no jobs. You didn't bring no equipment. You didn't bring no resources. What are you planning on doing when you get there? You see, what they plan on doing is what they're doing right now. Let's talk about Ferguson. Let's talk about Ferguson. Because that's how weak, empathetic black people as a group today in America have sunken to. We have sunken to the point that we're so weak that we have elevated talking. Kind of like a lot of you dusty Negroes out there who've taken a fat chick and tried to elevate her to being sexy. But you're not gonna build anything in Ferguson. You're not gonna change the circumstances of anything in Ferguson. You ain't gonna go down there and get rid of those housing projects and replace them with upper middle class housing. You're not gonna do that. So why are you trying to divert my conversations into something about Ferguson? Why are you trying to do that when you just admitted that you're not actually going to do anything? Yeah, this is what it means to be a black male in America today. They sit and they talk and they talk and they prattle on ad nauseum. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to do nothing. But they're going to try to pretend and feign and front as if they got a plan, and if we all just do this. Okay, do you know what the alderman is? No. And if we find him, that changes what? He's all concerned about the alderman. Is that your daddy? No, I'm sorry. The fraud's your dad. Sorry. But if you find him, then what? Everything is all right in Ferguson? This guy was the missing link? What's he been doing for Ferguson while it's been going to hell for the last 5 decades? What has he done? Oh, wait a minute. He's like you. He hasn't done anything. You know what I'm doing for Ferguson? I am doing the most important thing for Ferguson that I can. And the fake Negro outrage clowns who are talking about Ferguson and not gonna do anything, yeah, that's why they hate it. Ferguson, I'm gonna do you the biggest favor that anybody has ever done tonight. I'm gonna tell you that Ferguson, You need to save yourself. Ferguson needs to save itself. Ferguson needs to get tired of being poor, tired of being dusty, tired of being whores, tired of being hood rats, tired of being beaten up on, tired of being brutalized by the police, tired of having no stature and status, tired of having no options. Ferguson needs to get tired of Ferguson being Ferguson. That's what needs to happen in Ferguson. You don't need more black folk to come parachuting into town. You need to get tired, Ferguson, of being what you are: dusty, broke, destitute, bummy. Everything that people hate being. That's what you need to get tired of, Ferguson. You need to get tired of that. You need to get up and say, you know what? I'm pretty good at making bastard babies. I've been pretty damn pathetic at building an economy. Maybe I ought to focus on that second one so that police will stop cracking my head open. Maybe I should become an expert at that second option, 'cause that first one ain't getting me nowhere. But you see, cowards like Brian and Matthew and all the other coons who are complaining, cowards like them know that they don't have any resources to bring to Ferguson. They don't have resources. They don't even have a plan to get resources together. They don't even have a plan. There isn't even a plan from these clowns about what to do about Ferguson. Nothing. Nothing. There isn't even a... They don't even have a blueprint of what they want to do. Forget what they can do. They don't even know what they want to do. They don't even know what they want to do about the problems in Ferguson. They don't even know. But they want to come to my page and say, you need to stop talking about the issues you're talking about so that we can talk about my non-plan in Ferguson. So that we can discuss my non-plan in Ferguson. If that sounds familiar, it should. That sounds like the average black male who says that black women ain't cooperating. These black females ain't doing nothing for me. Did you bring in... Okay. What are you saying then? They always deferring to white men. They do what white men say, but they won't do what I say. Well, why do you think they do what white men say so much? Well, these white men bring money and resources and food and shelter. And what do you bring? I bring swag. And then you wonder why the females are not deferring to you. Well, she should show respect for what I ain't built, but I got the potential to build it. And even if I don't show that I can build it, she should still give me credit, even if I ain't did it and I'm not showing any potential to do it. She should still give me respect as if I did it. Okay, but she can't eat your potential. She can't wear your potential. She can't be housed in your potential. She can't pay her bills with your potential. When are you going to stop being potential? Well, I'm working on it. Then you should expect to get respect when you've done it. But I'm working on getting potential. Then she's working on respecting you. If you're going to work on having potential, she's working on respecting you. So maybe you two will meet in the middle one day. When you actually get some accomplishments, she will actually accomplish respecting you. When you actually accomplish building some assets, she will actually accomplish respecting you. I don't want to hear anybody out here talking about what's wrong in Ferguson, and you didn't talk about money. You didn't talk about the finances that need to be brought to Ferguson. And even if you brought all the finances in the world to Ferguson, it's not going to do any good if the people of Ferguson will not accept that the only way out of their first of all, they have to accept that their condition is wretched. That's the first thing. First of all, you have to convince the fine, lowly, decrepit citizens of Ferguson that there's actually a problem and that their condition is actually wretched. That's what you have to do first. You have to actually convince the citizens of Ferguson that there's a problem, because most of them in Ferguson do not believe that there is a problem. Oh, they don't want the police shooting them, and they don't want the police beating on them, but they don't believe that there is any problem except there's no problem except that the police are beating on them. Now, if you can get the police to stop beating on them, then they say, man, the projects are fine. Poverty is fine. Bastard baby makers fine. Weed smoking fine. Everything is fine. Let me tell you a little something about Ferguson, people. Since liars and buffoons have decided that they're so concerned about Ferguson, yet these same Negroes who are so concerned can't show you where they built nothing for Ferguson. And not only have they not built anything for Ferguson, they haven't built nothing where they are. Brian, where's your Oh, I'm sorry. Brian does not have a business. Brian does not have a job. But Brian says he wants to help Ferguson? Wait. Hold on a minute. Brian does not have a business, which is what Ferguson really needs. Brian does not even have a job, which means he has no financial resources for himself, but he's gonna help Ferguson? How? You gonna go down there and pray? That sounds like the only thing you're gonna do is go down there and pray. Spare me! Black males become so low and pathetic that as grown men they are openly desiring and cheering about their ability to resort to imaginary options. Got no money? Beg. Got no finances? Pray. Got no accomplishments? Jive talk. But they don't want to discuss what they've done. First of all, you got to convince Ferguson that their condition is actually wretched. Second, you have to convince Ferguson that they need to do something about their wretched condition. Ferguson, you should know that you are in trouble when the biggest business that you have in your neighborhood is a rim shop. That should be your first clue that something is mega hella wrong in Ferguson. That's supposed to be your first clue. But believe it or not, that was not a big enough clue for Ferguson. Ferguson, your first clue that you guys were in a damn bad situation is when the meeting spot is the church's chicken. You know you're in damn bad shape. You know that you are in damn bad condition when you got one gas station. You know you're in bad shape. Because the shoes in Ferguson will all be brand new and all will be on point. The hair weaves in Ferguson will be on point, but the business management and the business ownership has gone to hell, and they're not even concerned. You cannot get a hold of your police brutality problem until you get a hold of the economy. And if you haven't fixed your economic problem, you can kiss fixing police brutality goodbye. Because you got nothing to fix it with. This is going to seem a little bit anathema. Might seem a little bit of a given. May seem that it belies explaining. But let me tell you something. Poor people cannot stop police brutality. Poor people cannot prevent themselves from being taken advantage of. Is this thing on? Poor people cannot prevent themselves from being abused, used, and brutalized by rich people. Poor people cannot do that. Impoverished people cannot prevent themselves from being exploited, used, and abused by people who are not impoverished. You can't do that. It doesn't happen. And you want me to present you with some type of make-believe option. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. A town of 20, 30,000 people, and what do you own and control? Nothing. What that tells me is that at least 100 of you, somebody who lives in Missouri, in that St. Louis Ferguson area, tell me, when was the last time that 10 black males in Ferguson got together and said, look, we don't have very much on our own, so we're going to pool our resources. We're going to pool our resources together, and we, the 10 black men in this room, we're going to put our money together and we're going to buy something. Tell me, when has that happened? Tell me, I'm somebody out there, tell me, when has that occurred? When is it going to occur? Has it ever happened? Is it going to happen? Tell me. I'm listening. Somebody explain that for me. You ought to be able to explain to me. Why is it that 10 black men in Ferguson have not gotten together and said, you know what, we're going to build something? I don't have enough money on my own, and you don't have enough money on your own, and the 5 of us don't have enough money on our own, but the 10 of us got enough money that we can make something happen. Can't 10 of us out of 20, 30,000 people, can't 10 of us get together and actually have something? Can we do that? Because let me tell you something, folks. If in a town of 20,000 people, you can't get 10 of those people to get together and actually work together for their own salvation, game over. You are done. You are finished. You are through. You can forget about it. I'm going to tell you right now. Let me just lay this on the line for you here. Let me take a look at my chat room. How many dirty, dusty, bastard, baby-making, super whore, slut, hood rats do you think they got in Ferguson? Tell me. I'm listening. Somebody tell me. How many do you think you got? I'm asking this for a reason right now, okay? Because understand something. It's a damn shame if somebody like me says what I'm about to say next. It's a damn shame if that happens. Because you see, this is why I'm giving the answers that I'm giving tonight, people. I don't play that game. I don't play it. Because you see, if one If 1/10 of the population of Ferguson, 1/10 of the population of Ferguson put their heads together, you could start that thing. You could start something going on there. Now, let's just say that you got a town of nothing but bastard, baby-making, super brood, mare, slut, hood rats, and that's really what you got in Ferguson, if we can be kind about it. Why is it that 5 of them hoes, yeah, I said it. Why is it that 5 of them hoes, now understand something, y'all, it's August. It's August now. When was tax season? Oh, as soon as I ask that question, you're all gonna sit there and say, yeah. You see, you thought you had excuses. You see, your bastard baby making mama took your excuses. I'm not taking them. 5 of you ghetto sluts in Ferguson. It's August. What did you 5 sluts do with your income tax returns 4 months ago? April was 4 months ago. What did you do with your income tax returns? Because they get the earned income tax credit, the child tax credit. These hoes get thousands of dollars for a refund and don't even have a job, by the way. Didn't work, or if they do work, they didn't pay anything in taxes, and yet they got way more back in taxes than a lot of us did. So my question is, sluts, with your babies on your hips, what did you all do with your income tax return money? Okay, we got 5 hoes. Yes, that's what you are. You're hoes. When you allow a man to have sex with you for financial gain, you're a hoe. Actually, you're a whore. And if you're letting him do it and financial gain is iffy, you're a hoe. Now, if you assume that on the average these hoes got $5,000 apiece in income tax return money, $5,000 apiece, that's all. If 5 of them hoes got together with their $5,000, how much would you have? Oh, you mean you'd have enough to maybe buy your own storefront now? Oh, you mean you would have enough to go to a bank and use that as collateral? Oh. And wait a minute, super bastard baby making super sluts. And you did not have to get any other assistance than the government assistance that you're on, which is my tax dollars. You didn't have to get anything else other than that. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's right. You see, we don't accept your excuses here. Y'all should have seen it. My numbers dropped off here a minute ago when I said what I just said about the super sluts. My numbers dropped off. There's a bunch of hoes out there who said, damn it, he called my number. Damn it. Isn't it amazing? These hoes can get together and go to club. These same Section 8 bastard baby making sluts can get together in a group and go to the club like a big fat herd of bison. Now they can make it to a club. That they can cooperate with each other on. They can make it to some dusty Negro's house so they can all take turns sleeping with the same guy and end up on Maury. Because they'll sleep with each other's boyfriends without even taking a shower in between, by the way. Without even taking a shower in between. Yeah. Yeah, that's what's going on in Ferguson. But you don't want us to discuss what's really happening in Ferguson because you don't want to have to call them out and say to them, you know what? The cure to Ferguson's problems is Ferguson. The cure to Ferguson's difficulties is Ferguson. But you don't want to talk about that. You don't want to discuss that. You can all get together and sleep with the same dude, but you can't figure out how to put your damn welfare money together. You got weaves and you got red bottoms, and I guarantee you there's a bunch of Gucci bags out there while your kids are living in squalor, by the way. You got all that even without your income tax money, but you're going to tell me that you don't have enough financial resources to get yourself out of this. And you come to me because you think I'm going to accept your excuses. No. No. You see, as a business owner, as I have always told you all, a business owner's prime objective, his primary responsibility, is to find solutions to problems. A business owner is supposed to find the solution to somebody's problem and then charge a fee for resolving their problem. That is what a business owner does. And what they're telling us is that with $25,000, they can't solve one of the problems in their neighborhood. Let me tell y'all something. Is there anybody in the chat room who lives in or near Ferguson? I just want to try to take a quick poll right quick before I ask this question. Anybody out there, you live in or near Ferguson? That's what I want to find out right now. Anybody? Anybody been to Ferguson recently? Even if you don't live there, have you been there recently? Let's start there. Do you live in or have you been to Ferguson recently? I got reasons for asking. See, we started off talking about what the black males aren't doing. Now the black females, what the community's not doing. You see, if I'm having this conversation today, people in Ferguson should have had this conversation a long time ago. Okay, T Gold Ma in the chat room. Do you actually live in Ferguson or do you live near Ferguson? Let me find out what your relationship to Ferguson is. Okay, you live in St. Louis. Tell me, T Gold Ma, is there a daycare in Ferguson? I mean in Ferguson proper. I don't mean, because I know it's like 20 miles between the two or whatever it is. But I'm not talking about one within driving distance. I mean, is there a daycare that services the town, county, whatever in the hell that is, of Ferguson? Is there? Is there one in Ferguson? Because we know that there's a rim shop, at least there was a rim shop, that serviced the citizens of Ferguson, and somehow they figured out a way to keep that rim shop in business, by the way. They did figure out a way to keep the rim shop in business. Does Ferguson have a daycare? That's my question. I know there's a slight delay, so I want to give it a moment there to check and see. But does Ferguson have a daycare in Ferguson proper? Okay, Tim Goldman is saying that they got plenty of them. Now, I'm not really sure what you mean by plenty of them, Tim. I mean, is that actually in Ferguson proper, or is that like within driving distance? And there's a reason why I'm asking that. There's a reason why I'm asking that. Brothers and sisters, my question for you is Does it cost $25,000 to open up a daycare? Does it? Does it take $25,000 to open a daycare? I'm asking simple questions here. Does it? With $25,000, you should be able to open up a modern, up-to-date, well-lit, classy, actually 24-hour daycare. You ought to have the nicest damn daycare in the state of Missouri. Now, once you've built your daycare, what goes along with a daycare, everybody? We are going to do right here, because Brian Buttface and Matthew Moron, they could not do this earlier. You and I are going to, everybody right here, right now, we're going to build an economy in Ferguson. What goes along with a daycare? Black Wellness, if you get to start talking stupid in my chat room, you're going to be removed. Try being Mr. Contrary somewhere else. We're not the people here who try to figure out how to coon our way out of answers. Why don't you just sit down and just watch and listen and just be quiet? I think you've said enough dumminess for tonight. What goes along with a daycare, everybody? I mean, once you have your daycare up and going and you got your staff, what other business goes along with a daycare? What other business goes along with that? Because when you build a Walmart, what do you think after that? So once we've built our daycare, what can we build next? I'm giving you all a few moments to think that over. Once you've got a daycare, what do you have next? What do you have after that? Now, for those of you who will be listening to this recorded later, in the chat room, I've gotten answers of schools, cooks, food, cribs, baby equipment, food, blankets, books, a Head Start, pre-K. The correct answer, everybody, is all of the above. Now, let's walk down some of those things you all just said there, okay? Let's do a walk down. Let's just do a quick walk down, because this is what we do at the Black Channel. And this conversation should be happening in Ferguson 6 decades ago. But you got liars on the internet who are trying to pretend in front like they got answers for Ferguson and have never said a word about what I'm saying tonight. Now, let's just start with one thing. Let's just say blankets. I'm starting at the dead-ass bottom of the barrel, bare minimum. You got little bastard babies. Little bastard babies need blankets. So we're going to make some little bastard baby blankets. Brothers and sisters, how much does it cost to make a blanket? Simple question. How much? Come on now. How much does it cost to make a damn blanket? Brothers and sisters, it would be worth your while to just get them from Alibaba. It really would. You can buy them in bulk from Alibaba. You can go back to Ferguson and sell them. Now that's right next to our daycare. But you know what? You can't stay. What you could actually do, to be totally honest with you, you could actually sell the blankets in the daycare, by the way. You could actually sell the blankets at the daycare. You could do that. You could actually sell them there. You could sell little booties. You could sell the whole 9 yards. You could actually do that and run all of that out of your daycare complex. Because remember, they don't have a lot of options there. Now, let me go one further with you, okay, brothers and sisters? Right next to the daycare, you can build a dollar store. Oh! You see, the fraud doesn't talk about this kind of stuff because the fraud doesn't know anything about it, because that's what you get when you spend your life lying. But to those of us who've actually had to do these things and actually had to come up with these ideas for the biggest corporations in the world, and at the same time had to come up with these solutions for ourselves, yeah, we had to think like this. We had to figure out, how can I create an economy right where I am? So right next to your daycare, why don't we just open up? And I'm pulling a name out of the air right now. Okay, let's just say right next to the daycare, you open up a Dollar Tree. They just merged with Family Dollar, by the way. But let's just say right next to the daycare, you open up a Dollar Tree. The items aren't expensive. They're not expensive. But I got a question for y'all. When was the last time that you heard of one of your local Dollar Tree stores closing down? When was the last time you heard about that? Not very many. Let me just cut you off before you try to get some contrarian in there. Not very many. Not very many. Brothers and sisters, this is just with the few of us gathered here tonight. And look how I walked you from getting the capital to choosing the business to setting it up to starting to do what you're supposed to do, which is to start with one and build out your economy from there. We got all these bastard babies somebody's got to look at. And did you notice that I named things that you need? Did you notice that I named things that you needed? Things you actually need. You actually need somebody to look after your kids while you're not working. You actually need to buy blankets. You actually need cheap items. Because y'all ain't really balling like that. Did you notice that? Did you notice how quickly I was able to put that together? Did you notice that? Now that we've got our daycare and the accompanying dollar store to go along with that, what else do we need? Now that we got a daycare and a dollar store, what else do we need for the 20,000 low-income people where we are? What else do they need? I'm asking you, what else do they need? Come on, people! Alright, we got a bunch of welfare mammies. The next thing that you need, because all they got is a giant housing project, it seems to me that the next thing that you need is a laundromat. Not yet, Jason. You're getting ahead of me. Not yet. Brothers and sisters, remember, we're starting from the beginning, okay? We're starting from the beginning. We're starting from bare bones. We're starting from bare bones, and we want to make sure that we're setting up things that fall within the threshold of what we can do, okay? We're not going up from there. I know we're not doing the 30,000 foot overview. Not just yet. We're just talking about from the ground, right where we are. These are people of limited, meager means. You know, they're low income. What can they springboard on their own from where they are? We start with a daycare because we know for a fact you need that. We move on to a dollar store because we know we need that. A for the daycare, B for the citizens. Next thing I would be thinking is that we want a laundromat. Now, question: how much do those machines how much would it cost for you to set up your laundromat? How many of you even know how much those machines cost? Okay. I'll give you all a little while to go look that up, but let me tell you, you can buy used machines. You can buy used laundromat machines, okay? You can buy used laundromat machines. But here's the thing, brothers and sisters, we're only going to start with 5 machines. We're not going to start with 20. We're only going to start with 5. Only 5. 5 washers, 5 dryers. TBA, yes. Only 5? Yes. Why only 5? Because at this point, number one, you don't really have enough to be able to afford more than that. But as you will be able to pay for this now, and as you take in your profits, you will expand from there. So within 6 months to a year, we can go from 10 total machines to 25. Look, you're never going to have enough machines to service the entirety of Ferguson, okay? You're not going to be able to do that. That's not going to happen. So they got 20,000 people. If 5,000 people, just a quarter of that population, needs their clothes done, that's not gonna happen, okay, folks? It's not gonna happen. You're not gonna be able. I mean, if you had 20 machines, you'd probably be full as it is. I mean, so just understand, it's not gonna be as easy as that, okay? It's not gonna be that. It's not that simple. Very easy to tell ourselves it will be, but it's not. And you don't have to do that. But what I'm saying is that you could start off with 10 machines total. Now, if you can start off with, you know, more than that, that's fine. Now, in the chat room, Better just said it. I think that's Better Black there. Better just said it. You can do a laundry pickup and drop off. The Asians do that all over Philadelphia. The Hispanics do that all over Los Angeles and Dallas. They've got no problem. Hell, in some of those places, they drive out and pick up your stuff. You see how we just sat here and solved the problem of limited machines? Do you see just how quickly we solved that problem? And I will take it even further for you. I will take it even further for you. We will have a pickup and drop off laundromat that will text you when your clothes are done. Ogo, you're ahead of me. You're ahead of me. You're ahead of me. You're ahead of me. Ogo just jumped ahead of me now. You see, that's what happens when the gears start turning. Nobody else walks you all through building an economy like this. Why? Because I had to do it. Had to do it more than once. And that's why I say, when I talked to the gods last year as I did, that was what they did with me, and we walked through it. Now, for those of you who are listening to this later, what Ogo typed in the chat room was "and dry cleaning." You see how quickly he made that leap from us picking up and dropping off people's clothes. He was like, well, if we're gonna let them drop off their clothes and pick them up later, that doesn't sound like a laundromat. That sounds like a dry cleaner. But understand something. For the city of Ferguson, the town of Ferguson, whatever, how many of those people actually need dry cleaning? That's my first question. Dry cleaning is something that is usually reserved for people who are making a little bit more money. However, However, we keep dry cleaning in mind. Why? Because as the means of our customers improve and as their socioeconomic status improves, we always want to know that they want something nicer. At first, they just needed their clothes cleaned. Now they want their clothes dry cleaned, pressed, the whole 9 yards, starched and everything. Today, they just need a washing machine and a dryer. Tomorrow, they need dry cleaning. And we will be prepared for all of the above. Is it starting to make sense to you now? Now that we got our dry cleaner together, sounds to me like we need some restaurants, y'all. Sounds to me like we need some restaurants. Sounds like we need a few. Once we get these restaurants up and going, well, you know what? We don't have enough for restaurants, plural. We only have enough for one. Just enough for one. So we better make sure that damn thing is good. Now, at this point, we're going to need a little bit more of a sizable investment. But let me ask some questions here. How many people in my chat room tonight have worked at a place like IHOP, Country Buffet, or what's the other one? Western Corral, Golden Corral? How many of you have worked at a restaurant like that? I gotta wait a minute because it's gonna take a moment for the that delay to catch up for the people in the chat room. How many of you, and those of you listening to me right now, you need to ask yourselves this also. How many of you have worked at a restaurant like IHOP, like Waffle House, like Golden Corral? How many of you have? I'm talking about worked. I mean, you know what? I'm not even going to say just worked in the back. I'm not even going to limit it there. I'm going to say if you worked there in any capacity, from the front door to the kitchen. Specifically, I want the kitchen. But how many of you have worked in a place like that? Simple question, y'all. Simple question. Ronan, that's okay. Pizza Hut, that's fine. That's fine. That's a restaurant. It ain't great, but it's a restaurant. If they serve food, if they fix and serve food, people, if they fix and serve food, OMG. Okay, Red's in the chat room. He's worked at Olive Garden, Red Robin, Tom's, Urban. Damn, Negro, they fired you all over the place, didn't they? Y'all own the damn thing by now. If they prepare food, people, if you worked in a place where what you did for a living was edible and wasn't a sex shop. CJ, that counts too. Costco food court, that's fine. That is fine, people. What I'm saying is that you worked for white people maintaining and running their restaurant business. Why is it that you cannot do your own? Why is it that you can't do it yourself? Why? If you worked for them fixing food, you're not terrified of no damn kitchen? How many of you in the chat room and listening to me, either live or later recorded, how many of you have worked in a restaurant actually fixing the food? How much does it actually cost to be able to do that? How much does it actually cost? For those of you who've worked in places that did buffets, and they got those heated food islands out there. How much does it actually cost to get the proper equipment together so that you can run your own restaurant? How much does that actually cost? I'm talking about a small operation now. It's a small operation. Hell, Dave Thomas of Wendy's, he started as a short order cook. He started as a short order cook. Somebody educate Red in the chat room. I can see why he got bounced around to so many jobs, because as soon as it's time to talk about owning something, all of a sudden he's coming up with the dusty excuses. Somebody educate him. I ain't got time right now. Brothers and sisters, it does not cost that much to open up a short order restaurant. And after you've got that thing up and going for a little while, these Negroes are already tolerating the Asians and the Arabs and everything else, throwing sloppy fried food out the damn window at them. Why don't you give them something a little bit better? You can do that now, and when you get, if you want to have a little area for them to sit in, you can, although in that neighborhood, I probably wouldn't do it. You can have them do that now, and in 5 years, we can open up a place that, in 5 years, we can open up a place that rivals Golden Corral. And you're going to keep that Negro element out. That Dusty Hood element, you're going to keep them out. Because security is going to be wearing button-up suit and tie with a gun on their hip. Yes, brothers and sisters, I've worked in places where security walked the floors and walked the buildings, suit and tie with a gun holster. Like detectives at the police department. Oh, wait a minute, some of them were. Ah, all right. So, what do we have so far? We got our daycare. We got our dollar store. We've got our laundromat. We've got our restaurant. Somebody else in the chat room has said car repair. Yeah, for those people, they need that, don't they? Yeah, that would be a good idea for them. Do you see how quickly we did that? You don't need a damn rim shop, people. You don't need a damn rim shop. That's not what you should be concentrating on. And let me tell you something about those of you who want to sit up here, because Negroes are very, very good for getting scared and cowardly. That's why so many of you are still supporting obvious fakes and phonies like the fraud, because you're cowardly about calling out somebody when you obviously see nonsense. And this is why black people end up as a group looking stupid all the time by backing the Eddie Longs and all these other clowns like that, because we're so cowardly all the time. Before you start getting scared of that coonish element, how many of you have been to Vegas? That's right, I'm asking a lot of questions tonight because you should have been asking these questions the whole time. How many of you have been to Vegas? How many? How many of you have been to Vegas? Simple question. Now, if you don't live out west, that might be a little bit different for you. But asking a simple question here tonight. Have you ever been to Vegas, lived in Vegas? More importantly, have you been to the casinos? Now, you all know how they run the casinos. Do you have that coonish element running wild at the casinos? The casinos are nice, they're big, they're palatial, they're clean. Most of them. I know you got some janky ones out there, but roll with me. How many fellas walking around there with their pants sagging, with their do-rags on? How many of them do you have walking the floors at your casinos? Tell me, people. How many? How many Shouty Lows and Ray Ray and Pookie and Rob? How many of them do you have walking the floors at those places? I'm asking you. They can get in their cars and drive to the casinos just like anybody else. But why is it you don't see them there? That's right, because those are businesses that are set up to filter out that element. And it's not a matter of money. It is a matter that they say, no, you don't get to come in here. And we got the situation set up so that if you try something, we'll be ready to put you in a box of one kind or another. And your business should be the same way. It should be the same way. Now, brothers and sisters, do you see what we just did here in just a few moments? We just named 5 separate enterprises. 5. Actually, we named 6, but that other one comes later down the line. But we've named 5 separate enterprises that you could undertake right there in Ferguson, tailor-made for Ferguson. Now, do you all remember what I told you about Sunday? About Pastor Pork Chop? Now, is Tim still in the chat room? Or is he gone? Is Tim Goldman still in there? If Tim is still in there, or anybody else who lives in that St. Louis, Ferguson area, I want to find out how many churches you got in Ferguson. Now that we've dealt with the other things that you got, how many churches do you have in Ferguson? Simple question, everybody. How many churches does Ferguson have? Because you see, I know my people. I know my people. Now you got 20,000 people in Ferguson. 20,000 people. And if you got 20 churches, you've got 1 per 1,000 people. In other words, you got too damn many. The Negroes who couldn't get a job told you that Jesus said you must come to throw your money at me. You got too many damn churches. Remember what I told you Sunday. Your business owners get together and the business owners will select one pastor, not 10 of them. The business owners get together and select one pastor. And what the business owners do is we bring that together as a unit. Remember what I told you, if you can take one block, you start with one block and then you take 5. You can go to 5 blocks and then you take 100. We started with one block with our Black Wall Street. Oh, you didn't know that was what I was telling you. You didn't know that was what I just made you build right there in Ferguson, because you didn't think you could build it in the ghetto, and I just told you how you could, and they're not doing it. Remember what I told y'all before, the Black Wall Street, I mean, if we can just be totally honest, Tulsa, Rosewood, Wilmington, and beyond, they were really, you know, large, what today would be large strip malls is what they really were. But we called it the Black Wall Street, and that's fine. I think I have no problem with that. The name fits. If I was doing it today, I'd call it just that. I would call my shopping plaza the Black Wall Street if I was doing it today. That's right, folk. I just walked you into rebuilding the Black Wall Street, which we talked about a while ago. We talked about it on the Black Apprentice, and we talked about it again since then. We just built a strip mall, everybody. We just built a shopping plaza, in case you didn't know. We just built it. We started with one, and we added on from there. We just did it. We just did that. Now that we have our Black Wall Street back in place, and we've got some business owners and some upper middle class action going on, it's time for us to go take a trip down to this church, so we can get Pastor Cornbread's mind right for him. We show up at the church. We mobbing in. 10 deep. And 10 deep might not sound like very much, but when them 10 people got $5,000 apiece, they rolling heavy. Especially in a town like Ferguson. And we say, look here, Pastor Pork Chop. Look here, Reverend Watermelon and Cornbread. This is our tithe money. We brought $5,000 apiece. Pastor Bucktooth has got visions of Cadillacs and BMWs dancing in his head. Forget the sugar plums. We done moved on. Now he's watching that money sitting in front of him. And what you ought to do is you ought to come in and put them damn things down on the altar in stacks. You walk up in there and you drop them damn dollars in stacks. You walk into Pastor Pork Chop's church. Better yet, go into the pastor's study so y'all can have some privacy. You go back there in the pastor's study. You yank that damn gym bag out. When he sees y'all put 50 racks on his damn desk, you done stacked up 50 racks on his desk. All he's doing is envisioning what he can do with that. And at that moment, you've let Pastor Pimp Preacher know that things gonna go down our way at this church. And you are going to give the sermons that we instruct you to give. And if you do not give the sermons that we instruct you to give, or that we tell you to give, then we are going to leave Pastor Pork Chop's church and we're going to go down there to Pastor Collard Green's church. And we're going to see if he needs 50 stacks. That's what we're going to find out, is if that's what he needs. Because you going to show us that you don't need it. Brother, trust me, believe me, we don't have to sell you on our agenda. This is 50 bricks on this damn desk. This agenda sells itself. I ain't got to sell a damn thing. This agenda sells itself. I ain't got to sell this stuff. It sells itself. All I'm here to do is sign the paperwork because the dollar bills can't sign it on their own. That's it. Trust me, if you do not want my money, I guarantee you the fella across the street will take it. As a matter of fact, he will walk over here and bust you across the head and take it. Because the Bible said, thou shalt not kill. But Pastor Collard Green said, but it didn't say nothing about you cannot lay him out. Didn't say nothing about thou shalt not lay him out on this floor. What about thou shalt not steal? I'm not stealing. I'm liberating this money. Like Moses with the children of Israel. I'm liberating these dollars. From Pharaoh. A.K.A. Pastor Pork Chop. Now, brothers and sisters, I've got one more question to ask you. Because you all know that the white folk and the Asians and the Arabs and all these other non-black entities, they brought a rim shop to Ferguson. They brought a Church's Chicken and a McDonald's to Ferguson. They brought a dollar store to Ferguson. Tell me, brothers and sisters, if the citizens of Ferguson actually got serious about coming together as a group and building an economy, tell me, how long would it take to build that daycare and the dollar store and to build out everything I just said? How long would it take for that to roll out? How long? If you close down the damn churches, because 20,000 people, y'all don't need but 3 churches. If they got 20 churches, you need to close about 17 of them. And if you all took that money that you're giving those 17 churches, you would have your economy tomorrow morning. Not next year, people. Tomorrow morning, you would have your economy. How long would it take for them to build the things I just said, to put together the plan, to execute the plan that I've just sat here for an hour and a half laying out for all you? Well, I'm sorry, for the last 30 minutes laying out for all of you. How long would it take for them to execute that plan if they stop dumping their money off in those churches which are doing nothing for them? I'm asking you, how long would that take? 2 decades? Please. A year? I don't think it would take a year. I think they could have all of that up and going if they were serious about it. They could have all of that up and going in less than 1 year. If they were really that serious about it, they could. They could. People, how long does it take to build a damn daycare? Now we got our business district. We've got our church. And from there, what do you do next, people? Now that you've got your business district and you've got your church, what do you do next? What do you do next now? Now you all can send your pastor, since you like doing that so much. Now you can send your pastor down to City Hall or the county commission or whatever, and he can lay the law down about what's gonna happen the next time a killer cop decides to come rolling into Ferguson. Because after you've opened up your first 5 businesses, you will open up 1 more. The 6th business that you open up is a gun shop. That's the 6th business that you open up. You open up a gun shop. And that is how you let the county commission know that you are serious about dealing with your killer cop problem. That's how you let them know, oh yeah, we are dead serious about dealing with this. You got a gun range on the white side of town? Guess what? We got one over here too. Game on. Come out with it or don't come out. Game on. Now, if anybody knows Brian Buttface Bloomfield or Matthew or anybody else who wants to pretend, who has tried to pretend that they've got some idea or some concept about helping Ferguson and what they're going to do in Ferguson, talk to them and ask them what's their plan for Ferguson. And they won't, he's probably listening right now and he'll repeat every word that I said. Tell him, no, don't repeat what Jason said. Tell me what you think. Yeah, you've proven to us you were listening to him. Tell us what you think now. What's your plan? They haven't talked to you like this before, and they're not going to because they don't actually know what to do. Brian and the rest of them want to go down to Ferguson and protest and march. Damn your protesting and your marching. Protesting and marching doesn't change nothing. You've got to have an economy before you can take on a dominant culture. You got to have a war chest. And I just explained to you all how Ferguson can come together and make a war chest. You know, years ago, Nelly had that song, Tip Drill. And remember what he said at the end of Tip Drill? 'Cause we're all we got. Remember that? Isn't it ironic, though, that Nelly said we're all we got? He lives in St. Louis, but Ferguson ain't got nothing. 'Cause they don't even have each other. We're all we got, except if we don't have each other. Now, nothing's all we got. No, brothers and sisters, I don't tolerate excuses and I don't tolerate failures. Because as black people, as broke and bummy and destitute as you all are in Ferguson, I'm talking to you right now, Ferguson, as dusty and bummy as you all are, you all ought to be doing, let me tell you something. You know what a people do when they are tired of being broke and bummy? They come together. Like the Vietnamese did in New Orleans and everywhere else they are around the country. They come together. Dr. Claude Anderson has been saying it for 30 years now, and you haven't given a damn, and your children you and your children are being gunned down the streets, and all you can do is cry. Because you have failed and refused to heed the words of the prophets, and now you are suffering the consequences of it. When you realize that you are a huge minority and y'all don't have much money, that is the moment that a damn survival light bulb is supposed to go on in all of your heads. And you're supposed to get together and say, you know what? We need to all get together and work together to do something more than build a damn church. We need to build something more than a church house. It's time for us to build something that generates revenue. The pastor pork chop has been selling this damn con game that we build a church so that you can pray and get some money. Negro, stop that damn lie. Let's get some money and build a church. He's saying build a church, leave some money for me, but it takes money to build a church. Yeah, well, don't worry about that right there. Bring your money to church. No, we're going to build an economy. And then the church will actually have a purpose and a meaning for existing. A church has no purpose for a bunch of poor people. And I know you thought you were taught otherwise. I'm telling you that whoever told you otherwise lied. When you are as outnumbered, out-resourced, outmanned, and outgunned as you are there in Ferguson, you all should have come together as a group. You all should have sat there and said, who's got what so we can get together? Lionel, you used to work over there at that mechanic shop up there in St. Louis before you got fired for smoking weed, didn't you? Yeah. You're going to open a mechanic shop down here. You got some tools. We'll go to the pawn shop. We'll get you some tools. Maddie Mae, didn't you flunk out of nursing school? Yes. Didn't half the guys there, half the janitorial staff sleep with you? Yes. Sounds like you need to open a daycare. I ain't got no money for that. How much money do you have with your 3 bastard babies? Before I come yank that damn weave off your head, slut. You need to have a neighborhood watch in Ferguson. There needs to be a neighborhood watch. The neighbors need to be watching the hood rats and make sure that they're not spending one dime that they don't have to be spending. Negroes, blow the damn bank at Thanksgiving. Blow the damn bank at Christmas. Blow the damn bank for Valentine's Day. Blow the damn bank for their birthday, but then want to tell us they ain't got no money. But Christmas rolls around, gifts for everybody. I don't want to hear that damn lie no more. And it doesn't require a tax season either. Negroes got money year-round. We just blow it year-round. Time to make a priority out of owning something, not buying things. Don't tell me about just tax season. Everybody out here knows Negroes like to go off and go buy brand new outfits for summer. Walmart's full of them. Dillard's and JCPenney and Kohl's are full of them. I need some new clothes for summer. For summer. You live in a damn housing project, you gutless, toothless heifer. But you want new clothes for summer. Because your only ambition in life is having some dusty Negro lay on top of you. That's all you ever wanted. Damn the kids. We need to have a neighborhood watch. Watching our hood rats and dusty Negroes and telling them that you can't spend a dime without our permission. And if they do, you move on to someone else who's got some sense. And once y'all have got it together, you go find all the Negroes who were splurging and run them out of town. That's what you do. You run them out. You get a one-strike policy when it comes to standing up for our survival. That's a one-strike policy. If you got 1,000 Negroes in one place and all of y'all are struggling, aren't you all supposed to get together at some point and say, you know what, we all need to struggle in the same direction with each other and for each other? We struggling against each other's best interests. We need to start struggling for each other's best interests. You 5 hoes can get together and scheme on getting a baby by the same damn Negro, but you want to sit up here and act like you can't scheme to get together to open up your own business so y'all can get out them damn projects. Because the truth is that you don't actually want to leave the projects because you have become an element of the projects. You've become an instrument of the projects and a part of it. You've now become willing agents of the very things you claim you hate. And your poverty is what allows the police to victimize you. That's what's doing it to you. Once you get your young men at that church, and it should be mandatory, once you get them there, you tell them, now this is what we are going to be, a civil defense corps. And there will be no more killers coming into our midst to gun us down. But when you become a willing element of the environment that traps and destroys you, now you're a problem. Now, I understand for the younger people out here, and certain others of you, you've never heard people talk like this before. Welcome to the Black Channel, the only place in the world that does this in depth. I do this all the time. And we do this every day. Because you see, coonery and buffoonery and talking about how much you like entertainment and shoes ain't fixing a damn thing. And what we're talking about here is the only thing that will. That is why what we do is so important here. So if this is your first time listening in, you found the haven of intelligent black thought. Now let's take it a little bit further. Once we have the Black Wall Street reinstituted in Ferguson, that's right out of the dirt, out of the slums, out of the gutter of that is Ferguson. Once you have constructed the Black Wall Street there, you business owners of your business district, y'all get together. And this time, now that you got it together, y'all take this show on the road. It's time to go to St. Louis. And it's time to replicate the formula. We are going to go into St. Louis, and we are now going to replicate the formula in St. Louis. St. Louis has a hell of a lot of restaurants, whole lot of steakhouses. For those of you who haven't been to St. Louis, and Tim Goldman will bear me witness, if you're still in the chat room, they have a hell of a lot of steakhouses, because St. Louis used to be a hub for beef and used to be a major slaughterhouse city. So they had that legacy of their slaughterhouses in St. Louis. And the steakhouses are a testament to that. Well, now you don't have to worry about finding your restaurant. You go find one of those black steakhouses. I think there's one, I forget the name of it off the top of my head. I want to say like Graves or something like that off the top of my head. I can't. It's some black folk in St. Louis. They have a chain of steakhouses. Because I'm thinking Earl Graves. That's like the founder of Black Enterprise magazine. So I know that's not it. But there's a black guy. It's a number of black folk actually. But there's one in particular I'm thinking about. They kind of light skinned, and they own some steakhouses in St. Louis. They own a chain of them, and you go find where he is. Time for us to get a new dollar store in town. But first, we need to go grab Pastor Pork Chop and let him know that he needs to let this Sunday 10 stacks, 20 stacks, 30 stacks, 40 stacks, 50 stacks. This Sunday, the sermon will be about why God requires us to practice group economics. That's what this Sunday's sermon is gonna be about. And Pastor Pork Chop is gonna give the sermon. Then you're gonna go find the black daycare in St. Louis. And you're gonna tell that heifer, look here, Wanch, you shutting it down. Let me tell y'all about this right here. Let me just tell you all right where I'm coming from. I'm gangsta about it. Understand that. G'd up to the fullest when it comes to starting a business and when it comes to competing. Because I have worked for the most ruthless men on the face of the planet. Ed Whitaker was ruthless at SBC and later AT&T. And his successor, Randall Stevenson, is even more ruthless. Brian Roberts, cutthroat. Sumner Redstone, slaughter. And thinks nothing of it. Nothing. Richard Parsons, he did not become the first black CEO of a telecom by being Mr. Nice Guy. Let me tell ya. The only thing that those guys are missing are their top hats and their Tommy guns. And they would look like something out of 1920s Chicago working for Al Capone. And I mean every word that I just said. These are the most ruthless people on the face of the planet in those boardrooms. And what they think about using their money to run somebody else out of business is absolutely nothing. What they think of laying off 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 people is absolutely nothing. Nothing. The first millionaire that I ever worked for, number one, and I've told this story before, the first one I ever worked for, because I had met and trained under them before, but he was the first one that I had ever gone in on the business side with. And there was one guy in particular. He was sick. His wife was sick. She was in the hospital. He had taken off of work once before to go see her. Missed a day. The second time that he did it, number 2, Terry came and he said, I'm letting him go today. No, I'm sorry, he didn't say I'm letting him go. He had told us he let him go. And let me tell you all what day it was. It was December 24th. By the way, he did this on December 24th. Now understand, this guy was not just slacking off, okay? He wasn't just at the club and pretending that he was at the hospital with his wife. I mean, we knew that she was pregnant and we knew that it was a difficult pregnancy. He fired the guy on December 24th. And I remember talking to Terry about this later. I remember talking to him about that. And I said to him, I was like, he had told me what happened. I remember talking to him about it because he actually came and told me. Because he wanted me to take over for those stores. He wanted me to take over. And I was like, man. He was telling me what he had done, and he looked at me. And he realized that I wasn't sitting there with an indifferent look. I was like, man, that was pretty, that's pretty evil. You fired the guy on Christmas Eve, for real, man? And I'll never forget it to my dying day. "16 years old I was. 16 years old. Standing next to this guy's brand new Cadillac. Now this was a couple decades ago, y'all, so Cadillac was still the mark of excellence back then. Standing next to his brand new Cadillac that he's just fired a guy on Christmas Eve. And this was a good worker too, by the way. This guy was not a slacker. He was a hard-ass worker. Fired him. Your wife, your kid, damn ya. You out of here. And I'll never forget what he said. He said to me, he looked at me and saw that I wasn't approving of what he had done. And he sat there and he said it like this. He said, "Now, Jason, I know that some folks might think that it's a little cold to fire somebody, to fire a man when his wife's in the hospital. Fire a man when his wife's in the hospital on Christmas Eve, but And I thought about it. I thought about it before I did it. That's right, y'all. It was premeditated. I thought about it before I did it. And I said to myself that the day that I couldn't do that, the day that I couldn't bring myself to fire somebody on Christmas Eve under those circumstances, that's the day that I just don't need to be in business anymore. And he said it to me just like that 20 years ago. And that was when I realized that if I wanted to be an entrepreneur, that was what I was up against. That was the mentality of the competition, of the historic competition in America. That is what built American economy. That was the way they did it. That was the attitude that they had. And that was what I was going to have to go up against. And you cannot beat a vicious lion with a big ball of cotton candy. Go try it and see how long your head remains attached to your neck. That's my competition. That's my opposition. And I'm going in ready to take him on. And if I lose to him, it will not be because I was less ready for battle than he was. And everybody else out there is the same way. So when me and Black Wall Street come booming into St. Louis, we gonna grab Sally Mae's little daycare over there. And we gonna holler at her. And we gonna let her know we clearing y'all out. Like New Jack City. This was your corner. Now it's our corner. This was your block. Now it's our block. And you can't post up on our block. You got to go. You got to go tonight. You ain't even gonna wait. Now, you can sell to us, or we will put pressure and make you sell, or make you go out of business. One or the other. So we can do this the easy way, or we can do this the really easy way. But this is not your block. This is our block. This is our corner. And you out of here. Let me tell you, people, I work for some folk that when he said that the competition got to go, he wasn't bull-jiving. I watched this man when we told him that the folks had hired 10 new people. And he was like, well, how could they do that? We've lowered the prices. I know I'm selling for less than him. How could he hire 10 new people? And we sat there and told him, I don't know how he's doing it, but I know that he's hired them. And he sat there and, I watched him do it. Got up, left, came back with $100,000 cash. And started telling us about all the changes and improvements we were going to make. That we were going to have the nicest, best client experience when people came in there. Everything was going to be top to bottom. One year later, they were closing up across the street. What he basically said when he came back from the bank, when he was saying without saying it, is, I am going to drown him in money. I am going to drown you. This isn't about which one of us has the better business. This is big bank take little bank. I am gonna undercut your prices. I am gonna triple my marketing budget. I am gonna get my salespeople, and I was one of them, they are gonna be empowered and financed to do every damn trick in the book. We are gonna get 50% of your clients because you might be able to stay in business good enough to hire 10 more people, but you can't stay in business another day if you don't have enough clients. And we're gonna take all of them. And before it was over, we took most of them. We didn't ever need to get all of them, but we took enough to do what he wanted to do. We did enough to do what he wanted to do. And let me tell you, I was one of them. I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm not going to lie to you. The fraud has to lie. The con artists have to lie. I don't have to lie to you. Brothers and sisters, I don't have to lie to you. When I got people on the phone, I closed deals. And he increased our commissions till we put the other guy out of business. Then he went back on the commissions again. Should have known that was coming. It was good for a little while there, though. But let me tell you, that motivated me to see that he was willing to do that. That's how you motivate people, is let them know we got a team and our team is not going to lose. And that's the way that you do it. Because what I think, I've worked for guys here. People understand something. This is why I tell you, I mean, I've tried to mentor you all in what I know. That O'Reilly's did not grow to be as big as it is today by fighting the rules that I'm telling you. O'Reilly didn't try to reinvent the wheel. They found AutoZone. AutoZone is not as clean. AutoZone is not as nice. AutoZone is not as well equipped. And O'Reilly said we're going to be cleaner, nicer, and better equipped. And guess what? They are. And they've been able to go toe to toe with the biggest auto parts chain in America. And they're still standing. And what do? They set up shop right across the street from AutoZone. Everywhere you all are, O'Reilly sets up shop right across the street. Give the customers a better alternative. And if the competition is hanging tough, drown them in money. Now, AutoZone is going to be a little bit harder to do that because they're the incumbent. But let me tell you, O'Reilly's hasn't been punched out of business, neither has Advance. Every black business in town in St. Louis, you need to do intel. This is war, damn it! And we need to know where all of our people are. Because the Vietnamese know where all of their people are. And Jews know where all of their people are. And Arabs know where all of their people are. And Asians know where all of their people are. And Latinos know where all of their people are. But black folk walk into a city, we don't know where nobody is except in the ghetto. So if they don't live next door to us, we don't know where they are. You need to know where every damn black business is in that city, and you need to tell all of them we are all going to set up in the same shopping center. And if there isn't one that will sell to us, we will buy a tract of land and we will build. But the Black Wall Street in St. Louis is going up. And Mr. Graves, or whoever the hell you are, you gonna move. And the rest of you, you gonna move. And we're all gonna be in a brand new shopping center. A brand new shopping plaza. And the name of the shopping plaza will be 21st Century Black Wall Street. And guess what's going to be out in the front of our brand new spanking shopping center? It's going to be a black bank. We got black banks around America, and you got some black banks in St. Louis. Well, guess what? They're going to have a branch sitting right out front. And all of our employees at the Black Wall Street, we will set up a bank account for them at this black bank. We will set their bank accounts up for them. We will set the direct deposit up for them. That's right. We're not going to leave it up to chance. We're going to make sure that the money is funneled into a black institution. We are going to make sure of that. And to just think, it all started with just a little daycare in the rusty, dusty, impoverished, bummy, burnt-out littleville of Ferguson. That once upon a time used to be an impoverished slum that was just an endless victim of police brutality. But when Ferguson got tired of being Ferguson, that was when Ferguson became something great. That was when Ferguson finally became Ferguson. No, you have never heard anybody talk about what to do and to fix our problems and to walk you through it from start to finish like I did tonight. You've never heard that before. And for those of you in the 21st century, you better get off your asses and get serious about this tonight. Because understand what happened in Ferguson and those young black males, as the white population begins to go down, you are going to see their acceptance of Black Death skyrocket. Because they will understand that it is now a matter of numbers, and making sure that you stay subjugated requires a powerful terroristic element, and they are going to do whatever is necessary to maintain that terroristic threat. But they're the bad guys, and that's what the bad guys do. Well, we're the good guys. And this is what the good guys are supposed to be doing. Supposed to be. At least, supposed to be. That's why I don't talk about Ferguson very much. That's why I don't put up a bunch of posts about Ferguson. I put up one or two, and that's it. Because talking is not going to fix Ferguson. And guess what? You and me are not going to fix Ferguson either. Ferguson has to make the decision to fix Ferguson. And if you are listening out there in Ferguson tonight, and I know I'm saying Ferguson a lot, Ferguson, but if you're listening out there in Ferguson tonight, understand you've reached your moment that you will make a decision whether or not you will survive or whether or not you will perish. You will choose to prosper or you will choose to perish. And unfortunately, I think a lot of you have already made that choice. But if you want to know what you could have done to survive, it seems like when the chips are down, you had no choice but to rely on each other, and you didn't even believe you could rely on each other. At that point, do you deserve to survive anymore? An organism that cannot depend upon itself for survival, should that organism continue to survive? Basic question, people. Basic question. Now, I want to end off tonight with one more thing here. Over the last few weeks, I have instituted something called Black Nuremberg. And we've been long overdue for that. A lot of you are so used to your daddies lying to you and your daddies being cowards and frauds that you just expect that a black male is supposed to be a liar and a fraud and a coward. You just expect that that's what he's supposed to be. My daddy was a no-good deadbeat lying coward, so why can't I accept being next to Psycho Mayor? And hell, that's what black males do. They're just liars and cowards. I can be a cheerleader for that. And I'm telling you that in the 21st century, you're a liar, and that's no longer acceptable, and it will not be. We need a black Nuremberg, and we're having it now. Because we cannot go forward if the foolishness of the past is holding us back. And if you have a group of live-in traitors who are openly working for the enemy, how in the world are you supposed to be able to survive that? Answer, you won't. You know why Jewish people got involved in the media? Jewish people got involved in the media because they understood how Joseph Goebbels had used the media to damn near annihilate them. And they realized that whoever controls the media controls the mass communication of the society, and they would be damned if they would allow somebody who wanted them dead to get control of the national media again. So they got control of the media and said, now we don't know what the media will be doing, but we know it will not be saying it's okay to kill Jews. We do know it's not going to be saying that. We do know that. They also got a hold of the media so that they could continue to remind you year after year, channel after channel, show after show. Do you all know how many TV shows, TV stations, TV specials, documentaries, movies have been made about the Holocaust? Do you know how many have been made about the Jewish Holocaust? Do you all have any idea how many thousands have been done up to this point? Any idea? And do you know why there has not been a successful second Jewish Holocaust? Because Jewish people will not allow you or themselves to forget who their enemies were in the first Holocaust. That's why. Just like church, they bring you back week after week to run down the names and to remind you. Adolf Hitler, Eichmann, Himmler, Haldeman, Goebbels, Joseph Hess. We can go down the list. They make sure that you remember their enemies. They make sure that you remember them and you know them. They make certain that it never fades out of your mind about that. And when Steven Spielberg had to make the seminal movie of his life, Schindler's List, he made sure in that movie that he let you know that there were Germans who betrayed and killed the Jews, and that there were Jews who betrayed and killed fellow Jews. And he made sure that you would never forget that. The enemies inside their ranks, he made sure you never forgot who they were. That was what he did. And that is what they do, and they are right to do that. That's common sense to do that. It would be criminal negligence if they did not do that. Guess which group of people don't want to do that? And I know that a major reason for that is because it is the traitors of black society who gave birth to so many of the children in black society. Isn't that the most horrific of ironies? It is black society's biggest traitors that are now the majority of the parents in black society. No wonder the children can't progress. I want to introduce you all to a new name tonight for many of you. It was a long time ago in Nazi Germany. Well, not in Germany, it was in Poland. The city of Lodz, Lodz, had a very large Jewish population, something like 500,000, I believe. And then the Nazis came rolling into town. And the Nazis chose one Jewish elder among this group of fundamentalist Jews. He chose one Jewish elder. His name was Mordecai Rumkowski. And in Jewish Holocaust history, Rumkowski is one of the most notorious figures. Most of you never heard of him before tonight. Mordecai Rumkowski is one of the most infamous figures in Jewish history. Because Mordecai Rumkowski, one of the Jewish elders. And you think that your elders are going to look out for you because they've lived their lives and now their prime responsibility should be to take care of the children. You would think that. And in black society, we keep telling that lie. That the elders are going to look out for the children. Well, Mordecai was one of the elders. He was one of the elders. And he sold them all out. The Nazis said that we will make... They did basically what the Roman Empire did. For those of you who do not know your biblical history, and I'm going back to Mordecai in just a moment, but you have to understand, the Romans did this when they had conquered Jerusalem before. They took the religious bodies. Now, the religious bodies were basically divided up into two major groups. The Sadducees and the Pharisees. They constituted the religious body known as the Sanhedrin. And the Romans basically came into town under Pontius Pilate, who was the governor of that region at the time where Jesus was. And what they told him was that we will let you govern yourselves. The Sanhedrin, are who we're putting in charge, is basically the provisional government. That the people answer to the Sanhedrin, and the Sanhedrin answer to Pontius Pilate, and Pontius Pilate answers to Caesar. And that was basically the way the structure of the government was set up. They handpicked the Jewish religious leaders and said, we're putting you in charge over the people. The people will answer to you, and you will answer to us. Fast forward 2,000 years later, Nazi Germany and Poland, Mordecai Rumkowski, the people will answer to you, and you will answer to us. But other than that, you're in charge. It is you. We will make sure, we will give you a ration of food, but you can grow your own if you become self-sustaining. And they tried to make sure they starved the Jews out enough that they couldn't do that, by the way. We will give you a ration of food. And basically you can go from there, man. You can go from there. And Mordecai said, fine, I'll take it. I'll take it. And the survivors of Lodz, there were 500,000 Jews. The Nazis basically wiped them out. But the females in particular who survived Lodz, the females survived. The females who survived told the stories of what Mordecai had done to them. That he was an old man, but he liked to fondle the young Jewish girls. He liked to use his power to get sexual favors from them. Built his own harem. I guess we can call him the fraud too, huh? And if they wanted to resist, if they wanted to resist him, what he told them was, you better get in line, you better get with the program, because if you don't, I will send you off to Auschwitz. I'll send you off to Birkenau. I'll send you off to Treblinka. That was what he told them. That if you didn't just roll with the program, that he would call White Daddy. He's got friends. We'll get White Daddy to come get ya. He saw white supremacy as his buddy and his ally over others. As an elder, you are supposed to care for the young. He just saw it as a way to exploit them and, well, I'll make my last years as comfortable as possible. Elders are supposed to be willing to sacrifice everything. First and foremost, sacrifice their comfort for the well-being of the children. And in black society, we have had 2 generations now of Mordecai Rumkowskis. 2 generations of them who said, damn the children, I've only got a few years left, but if the children have to suffer, that's just the price of my comfort. We've had 2 generations of live-in traitors in black society. It's just the damn truth. And if you are too cowardly and afraid and dishonest with yourself that you can't look your mammy and your daddy in the eye and tell the truth about that, then that's your damn problem. That's just your problem. And there were many Mordecai Rumkowskis, by the way. There were many. Many. And that was why, when the war was over, the Jews were very determined to find the traitors who had sold them out to the Nazis. Everybody who had participated, you have to go to Nuremberg also. You have to go too. And in black society, we need to do that. We need to gather up all of our turncoats and say that we're going to deal with you also. Because let me tell you something, people. The reason that you've got your Tiger Woods and your all these Skip Gates and all these Clarence Thomases, the reason why you've got all of them today is because you didn't stomp them out back when they were little Skip Gates and little Clarence Thomas. You see, when they were doing their coonery and buffoonery and lampoonery back then, you were supposed to stomp them out when they were little. You ended up with an Allen West because you didn't stomp them out when they were little. You ended up with a Barack Obama because you didn't stomp them out when they were little. And we as black people let our problems grow and fester. That's why we got so many bastard babies. That's why we have so much sexual abuse. That's why we got so much poverty. That's why we got so much low literacy. Because black people believe in letting their problems fester like a disease, instead of doing what other people do and stamp it out, like the virus and the illness and the sickness that it is. And we refuse to do that. And I am setting the example for you now of what we need to do in the 21st century to make sure that we do not repeat the mistakes of the past. And the first thing that we have to accept is that we have to deal with our Mordecai Rumkowskis. And there is nobody that we should be allowing to be forgotten. Once they speak against the people, They have become enemies of the people, and once they become enemies of the people, they should never be forgotten. That was why I went over that story with you all about how they indicted and convicted brother number 2, who worked under Pol Pot in Cambodia with the Khmer Rouge. Murdered, we estimate, 3 to 5 million people. 40 years later, he's been sentenced and pronounced guilty. And they never forgot. And they never stopped chasing him. And he never did become irrelevant. He's like 89 years old. However much time he has left, he will spend it imprisoned. We as black people are desirous to forgive our traitors, and that is wrong. That's your cowardice speaking. That is the cowardice of your fathers and your mothers speaking. They want to forgive every traitor because they are hoping that they can bow down low enough to make white supremacy happy with them. So they're willing to accept the abuses of white supremacy. And if you're willing to accept the abuses of white supremacy, you're damn sure willing to accept the abuses of your daddy. And your boyfriend, you're damn sure willing to accept that. And I am here to tell you that it is time to do something different. It is time to find another way. It is time for us to start holding ourselves accountable. Because you've got a bunch of people out here who are trying to promote and cultivate the next generation of coonery into the 21st century. And I'm saying no. We should have stopped it back then when it first got started in the 19th century. And we sat on our hands. In the 21st century, we need to come out swinging. And let them know that you have no place among us. So I am using my platform for that purpose. I'm using my platform for that purpose. To remind you who the enemy is, where the enemy is, and why they're the enemy. Now, you will have a choice to make at that point. You will choose to be with them, or you will choose to be with your people. You cannot choose both. If you're watching folks sit up here and congratulate white supremacy, because let me tell you, if a white supremacist radio show host retweeted me, only thing I'd be saying to him on Twitter is, damn you. Some folk think that's worthy of dancing a jig. They've let you know I am fully on the side of white supremacy. When that happens, we need to round them and anybody else who supports them. It's time for a roundup. It's time to round up, put a spotlight on them, and excommunicate them. And if you are unwilling to do that, then stop talking about you want to change things, because you don't. You do not fix a problem by ignoring your problem. Black folk who want to ignore problems, what they're really saying is, I'm scared and I'm powerless, and that's why I don't want to say anything, because I'm weak and powerless. Can't we just forget about it and move on? Let's talk about Ferguson. Yeah, let's talk about Ferguson. That's much easier than talking about fixing our problems. Let's talk about Ferguson. Yeah, that's real easy to do. They desire to distract themselves because they don't want to actually face the truth. The truth is these are traitors. The truth is they need to be dealt with. The truth is they need to be gone. The truth is that we need to put a spotlight on everybody who agrees with them. The truth is we need to make it hot as hell for people who are speaking against our people, both outside the community and within the community. We need to make this joint hot as hell for them. We need to have no mercy and no let up. And we need to make an example out of them. A living, breathing, twisting example. That's what we need to do. And that's how you know how you stop the next Skip Gates? You stop the next Skip Gates by making an example of the first one. And when you see another Skip Gates rising, you stop the one after him by making an example of that second Skip Gates that you saw rising. That's how you get the message across to sway the majority of people to your side. Because you see, when the Nazis were done with Mordecai Rumkowski, for those of you who wondered what happened to him, he never made it to Nuremberg. No. Mordecai Rumkowski never made it to Nuremberg. The Nazis killed him and his family long before the war was ever over. Yeah. That was white supremacy's reward for all of his dedicated years of faithful service. The Black Channel is a special place because we don't just discuss fixing our problems, we actually do something about it. And as a person who has a bit of an audience in front of him, I am doing my part to make sure that we don't wake up 5 years from now and the Melissa Harris Perrys and the Goldie Taylors and the Oprah Winfreys and the Psycho Mayors and the Skip Gates and all the rest of them out there who are daily leaking out this poison into the community. They're leaking it out daily. I'm doing my part to make sure that I remind the people that when we take away their audiences from them, we make sure that we keep reminding people so that they cannot build a new one. That's called stamping them out. We make sure that you don't sit here in the background and we let you stay viable long enough that eventually you gather together enough people who did not remember what you did or didn't know what you did. And you got a bunch of naive people who don't really know what you're about. We make sure they remember what you're about. Remember what I told y'all about Mel Gibson? They make sure to remind you what he said about Jews, don't they? They pull out stories about this stuff. They're making a new Mad Max movie. Same director of the original Mad Max movies. Do you know what they did an article about on Yahoo? Asking him about Mel Gibson. Headline, he's devastated by what Mel Gibson said. That's right. They're not just talking about Gibson today. They are going to assassinate and decimate his legacy. Everything from Mad Max to Lethal Weapon. If they talk about making another Lethal Weapon movie, guess what they're going to ask the director of that movie? That's right. They're going to ask him about Mel Gibson and what he said about Jews. They're not going to ask him what he said about blacks, because black people don't have clout like that. But if we did, they probably would. They make sure that you never forget who their enemies are. People who are serious about stopping problems, that's the way they act. Jewish people said never forget. Black people say never remember. And guess who's losing? No, people. I'm going to do my part to make sure that you understand, that you remember, and that you never forget any of the enemies of black society, both without and within. I'm going to make sure. And when I see new threats emerging, I'm like the Department of Homeland Security. I believe in being proactive and preemptive. And if we want to have a shot at survival, you better be the same way. No, brothers and sisters, Black Nuremberg has begun. Hallelujah. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the BlackChannel.net radio. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, brothers and sisters, remember that black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.